SmackDown review for the October 11th episode of SmackDown. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers. Let's talk about some wrestling now.
What an episode of SmackDown.
What an episode of SmackDown.
We talk all the time about, or at least there's been one Raw episode, and there's been a lot of pushback about, hey, 2 hours this, 2 hours that, 2 hours might not work for Raw. Well, it worked for SmackDown tonight.
Oh, 100%. It was outstanding. If Raw is going to continue to be 2 hours, which it will be for till January, take notes from this episode because this is how you do it. Mm-hmm. Speaking of this episode, it starts out after Bad Blood. A lot of stuff happened at Bad Blood, huh? We had Jimmy Uso, we had The Rock, we had Kevin Owens heel turn after the show. So we were all wondering, who the hell's going to open the show? Well, that was answered. Jimmy Uso. He comes out there. He ain't waiting.
No.
He has a mic, and that man is absolutely a face now. He is no longer a heel. He's working over that Greenville, South Carolina crowd.
South Kakalaki. That's what he called it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He's working it over like he's his brother Jay. I was expecting a yeet at one point.
Yeah.
He comes out here. He goes, I was put on the shelf 6 months ago by my little brother Solo Sikoa. He jumped me from behind. So tonight, it's going to be big bro versus little bro, and I'm going to kick his ass. That's what he said. And when he said that, Roman Reigns comes out. And Roman Reigns, earlier in the day, he tweeted. It was a tribal tweet. He said in his tribal tweet, he said, tonight we acknowledge him. And we were all like, what does that mean? Does that mean The Rock? Does that mean Cody? Does that mean Jimmy? Does that mean, same questions we had at the beginning of the show. Well, he comes out and he says, tonight, Tribal Chief's going to change things up. And he says, Greenville, South Carolina, acknowledge Jimmy.
Uh-huh. Big Jim.
Big Jim is what he calls him. Big Jim. And we were all popping. We were like,
Part of me, when he sent that tweet out, I was like, oh, it's going to be Paul Heyman. Yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, but we got Big Jim. And I was okay with that.
We got Big Jim, and that is absolutely the truth. Right after he said that, Jimmy would it was funny. Jimmy would reach his hand out for the mic like he was Roman Reigns, and Roman looked at him like, nah, don't push it. And like he high-fived him. It was a funny little moment from the crowd. Roman, but he got serious real quick, and he said, I'm not an older brother. I don't understand this part of your revenge. He goes, and by the way, I'm not a wise man. I don't do plans, so I don't get any of this. What I am is the tribal chief. I take what's mine. That's what we did as a bloodline. I delivered for years. He said everybody feared us. We had the championships. We had money. We had everything. He said at one point Jimmy was looking for houses, and Roman said, buy all the houses. Buy all the houses.
I thought Roman was going to turn into Ric Flair for a minute. I really did. I was like, oh
and
my.
These Gators are having a hard time staying down. He says, I don't like where we are right now. I want people to think that when we step foot into this ring, we are the GOATs and we are the ones. And when he says we are the ones, the crowd hypes him up. He goes, we are the ones. We're the ones. And Jimmy goes, yeah, but we're not, though. And when he said that, the crowd was like, oh, no, Jimmy, we love you. And they started cheering louder. We are the ones. We are the ones. And when they did that, Jimmy responded to the crowd. And he goes, how are we the ones? I see a tribal chief without no tribe. He goes, you got no ulafala around your neck. He goes, I came back because you needed me, not because you asked me to. We need help. And when he says we need help, the crowd starts yeeting.
Right on cue.
Yeah, it was like they had a teleprompter for the damn crowd, man. These guys were playing in exactly the part. And you can see Roman's face changes up at that point. He gets all serious, and Jimmy looks at Roman. He goes, listen, I know you're the tribal chief, but I'm the only one that still acknowledges you, and I know one guy who can help us. And they start yeeting even more. Yeet, yeet, yeet. And Roman looks over, he leans over to Jimmy right in his face, and he goes, no yeet. That's all he says. No yeet. I'm like, oh, that hurts. That hurts. But when he says this, Jimmy reiterates his line. He just goes, look, Roman, I'm the only one that still acknowledges you. We need help. And he lays down his mic and he leaves the ring, and Roman starts looking around the mat, kind of having a moment of reflection in that ring. But this was an absolutely incredible opening segment. Perfect to do with Jimmy. Pop.
Yeah, I'm going to pop this as well. Great kind of return for Jimmy, right? Like he returns at Bad Blood, but we get to see him on the mic. And admittedly, I was a little nervous because Jimmy always hasn't been the greatest on the mic, right? He's kind of been here and there. He kind of just has the catchphrases, the one-liners, things like that. We've seen Jay do it on his own, so like, how can Jimmy do it? I thought Jimmy was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I thought the night as a whole, as we'll get to later, Jimmy was like the star of SmackDown.
Yeah.
Roman, you kind of expect that anyway, so to see Jimmy kind of play that role perfectly was great. The crowd was perfect for this. They could have just been silent and, there's nothing said there. So I thought that was fantastic. To get the no yeet from Roman, you get the acknowledgement from Roman about Jay. And it's the first time they've acknowledged him. So that means what? He's going to be the last one to probably join the group.
Yeah. That was easily the biggest takeaway from the whole thing. Was as good as Jimmy was, the no yeet line. God, what a perfect delivery, by the way. And it does. It's the first time in a long time that we've even alluded to Jey Uso in this Bloodline 2.0 story. And that's been the biggest question for everybody. It's just given Jay's path on Raw right now, and he's an IC champion. It seems that he's wanting to have feuds there, and we want him to have a title reign. But we've always been like, he got to make his way back to that Bloodline story at some point. And we've all been saying, well, Survivor Series is kind of right around the corner. They got a War Games match. They're outnumbered. Jey Uso would really fit into that. And now we got our first little alluding to of them wanting to go get Jay at all. So that was a big takeaway from it.
Yeah, and to have Roman say no yeet as well, it's got that you might think we need help, and yeah, we probably do need help, but not from him. So it's like, how do we get there?
It's I like it because yes, Roman is turning face, and in wrestling terms, that normally means you kind of forget the past, and you're a good guy now. But it establishes that past still matters to Roman. And like Jay was the first one to turn his back on this bloodline or do the right thing in terms of, us looking at the story from a distance. And Roman remembers that. And he's kind of equating Jey Uso to being the Seth Rollins of the bloodline story at the beginning. And it's cool for that acknowledgement, and that it's going to take time for Roman to open up to the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and so now you sit here and now you can really kind of wonder and run with the idea like, okay, well, they got Jay. Well, how are they going to get Jay? Well, who else is next? Probably Sammy, I would assume.
Yeah.
How do they get Sammy? Is it the same thing? Is he say no haluva? I don't know. Right? This isn't, how do you get there? So just
no Canadian.
Just a great opening segment to SmackDown.
Yeah, and the opening segment was followed up by a championship match, so things are going good. And it's LA Knight taking on Mr. Carmelo Hayes for that United States Championship. LA Knight would start hot here, and he threw Carmelo Hayes out of the ring, and then the camera's just focused on Carmelo Hayes. You can't see LA Knight, you can't see anything, but Carmelo Hayes is looking out into the crowd, and we're all like, what's going on here? Well, finally, the camera pans. It is Mr. Andrade. He came to watch the match. He sits next to the announce table, because him and Carmelo Hayes obviously have been feuding for like months at this point. And I was like, hi, Andrade. Welcome to the match. Anyways, it would go picture in picture. Commercial. We've had our takes on that one, but most of this match took place in picture in picture, where you would see in the corner Carmelo Hayes beating up on LA Knight. Nothing too spectacular, but Carmelo Hayes would get a bunch of offense in during the commercial break. But the second we get back from commercial break, LA Knight kind of turns that table again, and he goes to the second rope and does his jump up into his top rope elbow drop, gets a 1-2 count there. He would go for the BFT, but Hayes would counter that. He'd hit a scissor kick to the back of his head, and then his own little cutter, 1-2 ooh there. And then they go to the top rope. Hayes goes to the top rope, jumps off, he misses, and LA Knight goes for a BFT, but this time Hayes reverses it, and then he comes back with some move, kind of trying to flip over LA Knight, and LA kind of launches him off his back, and when Carmelo Hayes lands, hits the BFT on him. Carmelo Hayes sells that thing like his money and rent is on that, and it was phenomenal. But 1, 2, 3 here, LA Knight gets the win over Carmelo Hayes, and after the match, Andrade walks out to him and goes, put the fries in the bag, amigo. Has a little nod back. Picture-in-picture stuff sucks. I hate that stuff, but this match overall was great. moves along the Carmelo Hayes and Andrade stuff. I got to give it a pop.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about LA Knight kind of being that, I guess, superstar on SmackDown or maybe WWE as a whole that, like, he's really over with the crowd, but, like, how can the in-ring progress?
Yep.
And Carmelo's to the point now that he's on that level of he doesn't have bad matches.
No.
I don't care who you put him in the ring with. He doesn't have those. And so it's like, okay, let's see if LA can keep up. You even mentioned that when we first started. LA looked really, really good.
Yep.
Now, that's probably mostly because of Carmelo, but also I want to give LA Knight some credit as well. The BFT cell, like, he goes to do like a back suplex, I guess, and then he just reverses it into that cell is just fantastic. Carmelo's now, like, presumably, I guess, to, like, the back of the line when it comes to the U.S. titles. We'll get to here in a little bit.
No, we can get into it. So Nick Aldis later is backstage, and Carmelo Hayes walks up to him, and he's like, "Why was Andrade there? That took me off my game." And Nick Aldis is like, "Okay, guess what? You guys are tied at 3, so let's have one more match, and winner can get another title shot." So we're gonna get a Game 7 out of Carmelo Hayes, but
hopefully for our liking, like, I don't like multi-person matches, but I hope that ends in some no contest and we get a triple threat. Yeah,
we need a triple threat out of these guys. It just makes sense. They're too intertwined in this triangle of feud, and I mean, it'd be great. Mm-hmm. Like, just the match itself would be great, and I would love to see LA Knight, like you said, big questions in the ring for him over his tenure here in WWE. At least from a fan standpoint, that's like the one critique people will give him is like, well, he's not the best in the ring. I think he's really, really starting to shine in the ring, and he's really keeping up with people and holding his own. And I think a triple threat match with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, he'd prove himself to be just as worthy of an adversary as the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a great way to start the show.
Yeah,
it was. You had the 20-minute like promo from Jimmy and Roman, so you're like, God, how do you follow that up? Because sometimes those can kind of take the air out. This injected that new life back into that crowd. So
sure did. But speaking of Jimmy, he wasn't done. Not because of his match, but because he was walking around backstage. Been a while since he's been to SmackDown. He's maybe checking in on people, saying hi. But he runs right into Mr. Cody Rhodes, who acknowledges the fact that, well, Jimmy helped us win a match last Saturday. So he thanks him. And Cody gives him he starts to offer him some advice. He's like, look, I hear you want to take on Solo in the Bloodline, but that's a pretty big thing to chew off, speaking from me. And Jimmy's like, look, man, this is family business. And by the way, I hear you got some of that to deal with yourself, alluding to the good old Kevin Owens heel turn that took place. But we were to move on. We had the Meta Girls from NXT. Jakar Jackson and Lash Legend. If you haven't watched them, go check out NXT. They're great. They're a tag team. And this week on NXT, they set up a match with Jade and Bianca for the Women's Tag Team Championship. So they're making their way out to the ring when some crazy man from the crowd took a mic and got in the ring from the announce table side, jumped over the barricade. We're like, who the hell is this? Why isn't security in there? Well, it's big old Kevin Owens is in there. And he's yelling. He goes, I wasn't allowed to be at the stadium here tonight or the arena here tonight, but I want to talk about it. Why did I turn on Cody Rhodes? And he starts to talk. Mic cuts out. They cut his mic out like in the old days. And he goes, he's a smart human being. He realizes that there's mics on the announcers. He runs over and snatches one right off of Corey Graves' head. And he goes, why did Cody Rhodes turn on me? Or why did I turn on Cody Rhodes? Cody Rhodes turned on me. And when he said that, Cody Rhodes starts storming out. No entrance, no nothing. He's ripping off his suit. He's ready to fight. But by the time Cody gets halfway down the stage, Nick Aldis is there. A bunch of security is there. They got security at Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is in the ring. And then we got, the scuffled security, hold me back stuff going on. When Randy Orton comes out, no entrance, but he runs out. He tells Cody to stay there. He's going to handle this because he's been kind of the big brother of these two during this storyline. And he wants to settle this out between the two guys. And he runs in the ring to try to stop Kevin Owens. And he kind of holds him back. And then he gets from behind and tries to bear hug him like you do when you're holding a bro back. And Kevin Owens elbows him in the face. And this is the legend killer. This is Randy Orton. He doesn't like getting elbowed in the face. And he punches Kevin Owens right in the mouth. And when he punches Kevin Owens right in the mouth, Kevin Owens' look just changes. He is flabbergasted that Randy Orton were to square up on him. And he's looking at Randy Orton. He rolls out of the ring, and as he's walking backward because he has to go through the barricade because he wasn't allowed to be here, he's kind of staring down Randy Orton like, How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
But this was incredible. This was out of nowhere. I mean, during their entrance, this was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna pop that little bit. Like,
pop.
It's at times I think they do like the scuffled security pull aparts too much, but it's nice when it's done well. Like this was done perfect. You have Cody coming out, no interest means business. I'm just gonna take my suit off. We're gonna get right to it. Kevin obviously in his Dusty Rhodes shirt running through the crowd. I liked that.
Oh, was he in a Dusty shirt?
Uh-huh.
No way. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so I was like, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
And then like you said, Randy's been the big brother. The look on Kevin's face when he does get punched in the face is like, that's gold. Like Kevin Owens for me isn't really like a guy that you get a lot of like facial expressions from. He's more of like the in-ring, like he's good at telling a story in the ring. Sometimes he doesn't wear it on his face, or sometimes his promos are kind of the same. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. More on this later, but you're right. The second that Randy Orton punch came in, I mean, character work from Kevin Owens told the story, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But when we were watching it live, we looked at each other like, damn, does this mean the Meta Girls are getting cut from the from the card tonight? Because it happened during their entrance, and while it was all happening, they kind of just got pushed to the announce table side, and you kind of didn't really know what was going on there.
Right.
And I was like, please don't cut their match. Please don't cut their match. Well, they didn't. Good stuff here.
Yeah.
Because we come back and we got ourselves a promo, or we got ourselves on the outside of the ring is Shirk Williams. He's watching from the crowd. He got a ticket. He couldn't be by announce table. He had to buy a ticket, it looks like. Maybe they gave it to him for free.
Yeah, comp ticket, you know.
Comp. But Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are there. And we're all like, what in the world is happening here? Well, they cut to a promo package that was happening during the Cody-Kevin scuffle, I guess.
Said moments ago.
Yeah, moments ago. But it's Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. They're in the back talking to Jade and Bianca. And Chelsea basically just wants a title shot. And Bianca and Jade are like, well, the closest you're ever going to get to these titles is if you come out and watch. So that's what they did. But the Meta Girls, Jakar Jackson, Lash Legend, they are smart because Jade and Bianca got in that ring and they weren't waiting for them to pose. They attack. And when they attack, they go after Jade. So they beat up Bianca a little bit, but they go after Jade and they make sure that she's going to be out of action at the beginning of this match. They throw her out. And then you could tell that because of the Kevin Owens Cody Rhodes promo or thing that happened, there wasn't going to be a lot of time here, but WWE wanted to show off what the Meta Girls could do. So what did they do? They put the Meta Girls in with one of the best sellers and women's wrestlers ever in history, Bianca Belair, and they let them kick the crap out of her. And they did all their tag team moves, man. Everything, all their fun two-person tag moves, they did all of them on Bianca Belair. Basically beat the hell out of her. But eventually that they spilled out of the ring, where, of course, Piper and Chelsea are. And Lash Legend wanted none of it. The second Chelsea looked at her, Lash just turned and high-booted Chelsea over the announce table, and she went flying over the announce table. She struck Piper, too. But the funny part is they're keeping this gag going of Chelsea Green stinking from her trash match, or her, whatever it's called, dumpster match. She still stinks. And Corey Graves is acting like he's going to vomit because she smells so bad.
Get her some tomato soup.
Get her some tomato soup.
God,
is what he
line
said.
of the night, maybe.
Line of the night. I agree. But when Lash Legend and Jakar Jackson turn on Piper and Chelsea, this gives time for Jade to arise from the deep. And she comes over there and starts beating the hell out of Lash Legend. They throw Jakar Jackson into the ring. Lash Legend hops up on the apron, but Jade high boots her. They grab Jakar Jackson one more time. They do their little DDT kick up finisher, incredible move that they still have yet to name. Come on, Jade and Bianca.
We don't name moves. No,
we don't name moves anymore. But they hit the finisher on Jakar Jackson. 1, 2, 3. Jade and Bianca get the win here. I've already seen people online kind of arguing and talking about the time that they gave them. I thought that this was utilized perfectly. Not going to lie. Like, of course, we would always like to see 10, 15-minute matches when you get new stars and stuff in these type of moments. But I think for the time limit that they were allocated, this made the Meta Girls look really strong. This made Jade Cargill look really, really strong. I thought this was great. Pop.
Yeah, I'm going to pop this as well. I think, obviously, like you said, you want more time, but like there is a happy median.
Yep.
like Lash Legend and Jakar Jackson are still in NXT. Like they're still in developmental. Jade is, some people would argue, should be in developmental. She's still somewhat new. So the longer time you give something, the longer chance you give, the more chance you give it's something potentially going wrong. So I really like what they did here. To take out Jade and kind of push her to the side, and then Bianca looks kind of like the weaker one, I thought was a nice change of pace. That Bianca kind of had like a weakness to her game a little bit. The Meta Girls looked fantastic. I thought they really, really looked good. Then you have Jade coming back in for the save, to where like she's not on that level with Bianca, obviously, but it's a way to kind of start establishing her as the same level. I thought that was like a important step that we finally took here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what people want. If they, what do they want? A 20-minute match? Like, we just weren't going to get that.
Yeah, right.
So this was perfect. And then I would like to start seeing stuff like NXT going up, coming down, main stars, things like that. It's a good way to balance back and forth. You get more eyes. Like, hey, like if you watch SmackDown and Raw, you don't necessarily watch NXT. So, hey, we've got these people down in NXT. We've got the Meta Girls. We've got Trick Williams. Ethan Page has been popping up and down here. Like, great way for them to kind of cross market, I guess is what I want to say.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I would love for them to start doing these tasters with NXT talent, where you just like have a one-off little thing that happens on NXT that I would say the majority, I mean, you just based off the viewership on Raw and SmackDown is much higher in NXT. And even though NXT is getting phenomenal viewership for what it is, and they're thriving, and you should watch NXT if you don't. It's phenomenal. They have the best women's division in all of wrestling. But this is the way to start getting some more eyes on that, and just to start for the casual fan who just watches SmackDown and Raw to get a look at some of this talent. Just have little taster episodes where they come up, they shine for a couple minutes, and they get put in their place by the best talent in all of wrestling, right? They're facing Jade and Bianca. They're technically in the developmental program. That should be, they should be the heavy underdogs. They should be. And the fact that Bianca sold so much for them was amazing, and props to her. But like you said, I do love how Jade was the piece here. Because we all know that eventually down the line, that's going to come, whether it's tomorrow or 5 months from now. We're going to get Jade and Bianca, and Jade needs to look as strong as she possibly can. And tonight was one of those episodes where the other team literally focused on getting her out of the ring first and try to just beat Bianca as fast as they could. And then when they ran out of time, basically, Jade just set them in their place and it was done. And that is a good way to establish just the strength of Jade. So looking forward to more of that.
Yeah, I wonder if we get that on Monday with the Damage Control match. I'm interested to see how that match differs from this match. Maybe they do more of that. Maybe they do less of that. Maybe I'm assuming they're going to give that more time than they gave this one. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
The Chelsea Green stuff, I guess, like it was just kind of like it is what it is.
She's great.
Obviously, they shot the promo like way earlier in the day, not moments ago. But if they'd shot it moments ago, you know what they should have done? They should have had them cutting the promo, and then like you see Cody Rhodes like barge through.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
And then you see Randy Orton later on just like barging through.
Could you imagine Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton on their way out, and like as they're storming out, they both are like, oh, like Cody's so mad at Kevin, yet the stench is still so terrible to where he's like,
he walks out and everybody's like, what's wrong with Cody? And then you see that and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, that'd be awesome. They should have done that. We do cut back. Speaking of Cody and Randy, we got cut backstage, and Nick Aldis is with Cody and Randy at the American Nightmare Tour bus, sponsored by Wheatley, and everybody's mad about and doesn't know what's happening with the Kevin Owens stuff. And basically, what happens here is Randy Orton says he's going to go talk to Kevin Owens, settle it, because he feels like he's kind of the big brother in this situation. And Nick Aldis is like, "Look at you, I'm proud of you." And that's basically that. When we would have Miss Nia Jax come out with Tiffany Stratton, boy, oh boy, was this a long and great little part of the night. And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So Tiff is with her because Nia's coming out to the ring to acknowledge a couple things, including what happened to Bad Blood, where Tiffany almost cashed in that Money in the Bank briefcase. It was pretty close. She comes out and she says, I am the champion and I have a busy agenda. So I'm here to say a couple things. I'm here to say, good job, Bayley. You were a good competitor. But just like all my good competitors, you can't beat me. No one in the world can beat me. And when she says that, she flips it up and she goes, especially not Liv Morgan, who I am facing at Crown Jewel. She says, that little girl wants to face me. I'm going to annihilate her. And when I annihilate her, and she reaches over and she grabs Tiffany by the neck and puts her in a chokehold or like a headlock. And like when you give somebody a nuggie, and she goes, when I annihilate her, it's Tiffy time because you're going to cash in on Liv Morgan. And before we can get more on that, Naomi comes out. And Naomi comes out and is like, I'm tired of you walking out here and acting like you can beat everybody when you only win because you have Tiffany Stratton. And Nia Jax is like, oh, you want to talk to me? I've beaten you multiple times. And Naomi's like, no, you haven't. I just pinned you a couple weeks ago, and I've beaten Tiffany. Mm-hmm. And Nia's like, well, you beat me because you and Bayley were lying on top of me at one time. And when they start talking all this smack, Naomi alludes to the idea of fighting Nia whenever she wants to prove her point. And Nia goes, you know what? Screw you. I'll fight you right now. Nick Aldis, if you can hear this, send a ref out here. I'll fight you. And that's what they do. A little ref comes running down to the ring. He didn't book it like the refs used to do. You know, remember when they used to call out refs and they used to sprint to the ring? This guy kind of.
That's only when there's a pinfall.
He kind of just jogged.
Know? Yeah.
He didn't really have it.
He said, "Oh, wait for me."
Yeah.
It's not going to start till I ring the bell.
But before the ref could ring this bell, Liv Morgan's music hits. And I'm like, oh, wow, things are happening. Mm-hmm. And when Liv Morgan music hits, Raquel Rodriguez comes out first. Uh-huh. And I was like, oh, we're just getting Raquel. But then like 5 seconds later, Liv and Dom join her.
Yeah, she like walked and like looked around. And she just, like, stood there. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then Liv and Dom come out. And I was like, oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah,
Liv comes out and she goes, we came all the way here to make an example of you, Nia. But because you have a match, I guess we're just going to come to watch you lose tonight, just like how you're going to lose at Crown Jewel. And so that means Raquel Rodriguez is joining Tiffany on the sideline with Liv and Dom, and they're going to watch this match, which took place, wasn't for a title, just a one-on-one match between Nia Jax and Naomi. And good Lord, they gave this time, and everybody looked great here. Uh-huh. But Naomi would get the early advantage here. Naomi is too fast, too agile, too acrobatic for Nia. It was like cat and mouse game here. Mm-hmm. She just could not catch her at the beginning of the match. And Naomi was staying away, doing all of her moves, took her out to the apron, did her split leg drop on the apron to Nia Jax. But when Nia Jax gets the advantage, she takes her back out to that apron, puts her head in between the turnbuckle, laying on the ring post, second turnbuckle, and Nia runs on the apron and does a running hip toss to Naomi's head that squishes her in between the ring post, and it made a big bonk. And I was like, that sounded like it hurt really bad.
Yeah. I've never seen somebody do that before.
Yeah.
I've seen like a drop kick maybe, but never like a full running.
And Nia doing it. That's another monster. But Naomi, when she does get the advantage, she returns the favor because she takes Nia out to the opposite apron, so near the announce table where everybody's at. And she drop kicks Nia's head into the ring post. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, even the table's here, huh? Naomi would get hot here. We were thinking that she was going to pick up a clean win here with the top rope crossbody 1-2 ooh, and then she would drop kick Nia again to the outside, and then she would jump over the ropes and take out Nia. Mm-hmm. But when she was beating up Nia, she then rolled her into the ring. When she rolled her in the ring, the ref decided to check up on the champion. Mm-hmm. So the ref's back's turned. And when the ref's back's turned, it's Tiffy time. She walks over. She boots Naomi right in the gut. It looked like it hurt. And she picks up the Money in the Bank briefcase like she's going to throw a chair shot at Naomi. Yeah. But when she does that, Raquel Rodriguez takes the briefcase. And I'm sitting there like...
just full on, just like... Boop.
Yeah, she just... No, it's mine now. And I was like, why is Raquel Rodriguez, why does she care?
Yeah. I was like, why does that matter?
Well, it doesn't matter at all, but it doesn't matter. But while she didn't get the full damage, Tiffy did the job because this gave Nia enough time to recuperate. And when Naomi got in that ring, she got herself a Samoan drop from Nia. And when she got a Samoan drop, Nia then drug her over to the corner where she went to the second turnbuckle to do her annihilation like she normally does. But when she does that, Raquel Rodriguez hops up on the opposing apron. And when she does that, ref has to go deal with that. Mm-hmm. Liv Morgan comes over, bops her on the head a couple times with the Money in the Bank briefcase. 1-2, bop, bop. And she's staggering on the second turnbuckle. Naomi walks over. She rolls her off. So she kind of like power bombs her and does a roll up at the same time off the second turnbuckle. 1, 2, 3. Naomi gets the win here. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Crowd, big pop. Naomi, great win. But it wasn't over yet.
No.
It wasn't over yet.
It was not.
While they're celebrating, the Liv Morgan, Dom, and Raquel have made their way up to the stage, and they're getting their patented laughing camera shot. Rhea Ripley. This is my brutality. She out of nowhere, she comes out, and we're thinking, oh yeah, we finally get to see Raquel Rodriguez, an equal of Rhea Ripley, take this on. No, Raquel Rodriguez gets her ass whooped instantly. Rhea's throwing her off the barricades and beating her.
But don't worry, because like Liv's there, and then like you also have Nia.
Yeah.
And then, Tiffany's on the outside. So like all these people would stand up to Rhea.
Yeah, somebody's gonna nobody did nothing.
Nope.
Naomi didn't come to help Raquel, even though Naomi just helped Raquel. God, chivalry's dead. But we come in between, so it's Liv is in between Rhea and Nia, and Nia's in the ring, so we're rocking a hard place, and Liv has to choose. I guess she could have chose to run around the ring. But she chose to run in the ring. So Liv Morgan is in the ring with Nia, who grabs her, and Rhea Ripley's already there. She gets up, goes for a high boot. Liv Morgan, she's little, she moves. Nia takes a bump here from Rhea, gets high booted, and Liv kind of scurries out of the ring. She goes on the stage with Judgment Day, or Dom and Raquel, and they kind of just... thank God I got away from that. But out of all the people in this segment, including the 2 women's championships, Rhea Ripley stands tall. But taking away that Rhea Ripley part, this all, as a conglomerate, was phenomenal. Huge pop to all this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this might be the best, 30 minutes of the night for me.
Yeah.
As much as the main event was fantastic and that did its job, we'll get to that in a second. But this was great. You had Naomi getting the win over Nia. Naomi looked fantastic. When Naomi originally came out, I was like, oh no, please don't. Please don't just squash Naomi. But they didn't. So they gave her the time. She looked good. She looked strong against Nia, which was fantastic. You have Nia telling Tiffany what to do right before that, which I thought was a great dynamic there. You still have Tiffany trying to help Nia, even though she's getting bullied all the time. The Liv Morgan, Raquel, Dom stuff was out of nowhere. Didn't expect that, so that was really cool to see. It made a lot of sense.
Yep.
Admittedly, I could have done without the Rhea stuff.
Yep.
But everything else I thought was fantastic here.
Yeah, Naomi looked like a star tonight in every way. When we started the podcast, Naomi was in a lull area where she was kind of just being thrown in every few weeks here and there randomly, and we had actually been criticized for kind of how we spoke on her, and it wasn't coming out of like disliking Naomi. It was just she's not doing anything, right? Yep. Now she's doing stuff, and she is in line. Whenever this Tiffy Nia stuff, if it does boil over sooner rather than later, whoever comes out of that should take on Naomi. She deserves a title shot role. She needs to be in that title contention. Getting the win here tonight means a lot for her, and I'm so glad for her character, and I'm glad that they gave her the match here tonight, they gave her the time. They gave her the time because these two shined. Great job for Nia too. She's just getting so much better in the ring. But of course, the one downside of this was obviously Rhea Ripley standing tall, because it was so unnecessary. You have a segment here that includes our 2 women's champions, the Tiffy stuff on SmackDown, and the Naomi stuff, who's on SmackDown, their show. Liv's already coming in to steal thunder, but it makes sense because of the Crown Jewel stuff. And then it's like, we have to have Rhea Ripley stand tall. She has to run out here and stand tall. That doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, whether you like Rhea or not, we've all been waiting for the first interaction between Raquel and Rhea since Bad Blood, because at Bad Blood, it finally felt like, oh, Rhea has a match here. They're going to book Raquel to be her match. It's going to be a wall in which Rhea has to get over, has to climb. No, you just got to get behind the wall right away and throw it into a barricade a few times, because they've met each other once on a face-to-face level, and Raquel didn't look like she could square up to Rhea Ripley at all.
Nope. Nope. Yeah, I don't have much more to add. I mean, we talk a lot about the Terror Twins, how they get booked as a whole, Rhea and Damian, and it's like, okay, like at least from the Rhea side, it was like, okay, you have that interference now. Like, cool, Raquel can stand up and she can be the bodyguard to Liv and all these things. And the first meeting, it's like, well, what's the point of anything? Like, why do we have two women's champions? Why are they having a match at Crown Jewel? Why don't we just give Rhea all the stuff?
Because I don't think I pointed this out when I was going through the summary. Raquel and Rhea squared off. Like when Rhea came out, Raquel turned around and they had the moment of knuckle to knuckle where they just start swinging on each other, and Raquel got waxed. Like
it was like 3 or 4 punches, barricade, boom.
Yeah, done. Like it wasn't like Rhea Ripley out of nowhere and Raquel just got jumped. No, like they squared up. Raquel had 3 punches of glory and then got destroyed. So it's like, now I'm on SmackDown, away from the Rhea Ripley stuff. We didn't get any real Rhea Ripley Raquel stuff on Raw, the show in which that should be on. And now you're taking time out of my great SmackDown segment that was a 10 out of 10 to me until this point. And you're stealing thunder from the stuff that Nia and Naomi and Tiffany just put on, just for this Rhea stuff. And it's like I could have done without that.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest takeaway for me is out of everything, like Naomi should get her props here for this. Nia should get her props. I think both of them, like, I'm more invested in those two in their careers right now than I probably ever have been. I think Naomi's doing some of the best work of her career. Nia, we've already said it is the best work of her career. You have Tiffany there, a great, interesting dynamic. You even had Liv there, which I was like, okay, this feeds into the Crown Jewel stuff. So, like, all those things that we should have taken out of it at the end of it, we're like, okay, cool. So now we've got Nia here. We've got Naomi establishing herself as a challenger eventually, whenever that comes.
Yep.
Tiffany, is she going to turn on Liv like Nia said? Is she going to not? All that stuff wrapped up there. And then at the end, it's like the takeaway is Rhea Ripley is better than all of these women.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm looking forward to the Tiff and Nia stuff even more now. Looking forward to whatever Naomi does in the future. Looking forward to Liv, Nia. But the Rhea stuff just it feels like smoke in a random cloud around like a stuff that I like. Like I have to get through this cloud of smoke before I can see all this fun stuff, and that's just not how I want to feel about Rhea right now because she's great. Just back off a little bit on the Rhea bookie, just a little bit. Take your foot a little bit off the pedal, WWE, because it feels overwhelming right now.
Yeah, and I mean, we're probably gonna get destroyed here by the internet.
Yeah, whatever.
But you know, it's like we are Rhea fans.
Yeah,
but you're making us not want to be Rhea fans.
It's the same thing with Damian, man. I mean, when we started our we couldn't talk more about Damian. Love that man, but it's the same thing there. Like it's just being overdone a little bit.
It's almost like,
I mean, we're talking about Rhea and Damian on SmackDown reviews.
I mean,
like,
it's almost to the level of like Cena-esque or like Big Dog Roman Reigns suffering succotash. Like it's almost to that level of like, you're shoving these two down everybody's throats. Like, let's back off a smidge.
Just a smidge.
A smidge.
Aldis was having a busy day backstage because now all the DIY and the Street Profits are there yelling at each other because last week they were in that ladder match, tag team title match, and they lost. But I guess now they think that they deserve a title match again. Mm-hmm. So they're yelling, and Nick Aldis can't even get a word in. It's just Street Profits, DIY screaming at each other. Rah, 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 rah. And, But Nick Aldis, his face changes halfway through it, and we're like, what's going on with Nick Aldis? And he hears something funny. He runs out to the back. Kevin Owens is stomping a mud hole in Randy Orton.
And in Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley's out of nowhere. But Kevin Owens is stomping a mud hole in Randy Orton, just destroying him. And Nick Aldis kind of just scares him away. So when he comes out there, Nick Aldis pushes him away, and Owens is screaming at Randy, oh, so we're picking sides now. And that's about it. But good, and all I could think about this is perfection. This is the perfect buffer between KO and Cody. So you have Cody fighting Gunther at Crown Jewel, so you obviously can't have the KO stuff happen right now. So you put in a KO Randy Orton feud here in the middle to buffer the Cody Kevin, and then you can even stretch that out as long as you want. If Cody Rhodes does end up being a part of the Bloodline War Game stuff, whether you like that idea or not, you can stretch out a Kevin Owens Randy Orton feud for multiple matches, and this is just perfect booking. And Kevin Owens' heel turn has been done to absolute perfection, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop this as well. It's a short, quick segment, right? Like, I don't know, 3-4 minutes maybe, but it did the job perfectly. Yep. Kevin Owens like has the ability to turn from every time Kevin Owens has a heel turn when he is a face and he turns heel on somebody, it's fantastic.
Yep.
I keep saying fantastic. That's what this night was. It was great. This was perfect, like you said. Him yelling at Randy, like, okay, now you want to pick sides? Like, okay, now we firmly established that. We firmly established Randy is on Cody's side now. Kevin's all by himself. Before we move on, Nick Aldis, you did say he had a busy night earlier in the night too after the Carmelo Hayes interaction. Legado del Fantasma came over.
Oh, yeah.
Los Garzas, Santos Escobar, and Electro Lopez were like, how come we're not getting title shots? And Nick Aldis just said, well, we have a team next week I'm going to handpick. Goes against Los Garzas. So we got Motor City Machine Guns versus Los Garzas next week. And I feel bad for Los Garzas. They're like, here you go. Here's a match. Yeah, you're going to get destroyed. But it's going to be so cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that for sure. Yeah. Overall, this is all fantastic. Kevin Owens' stuff tonight was on another level. Looking forward to the Kevin Owens, Randy Orton stuff because they're going to put on phenomenal matches. They don't mind hitting each other, and that's what they're going to do. Yeah. And then whenever we do get Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, that's going to be phenomenal as well. And maybe throughout this Kevin Owens, Randy Orton feud, maybe you do get Randy Orton changing his mind at some point, or he becomes a guy who's teetering on the fence, and then that can, domino into a Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes rivalry right after that. So a lot to look forward there. And then, of course, Motor City Machine Guns. I mean, we've all been looking forward to that debut here for a while. So next week, it seems like that's going to be the thing. They're going to put on shows.
Yeah. There's been times at SmackDown, I mean, just throughout the last 4 years with Roman being champ, it's like you pretty much had Roman and you cared about Roman and his feud. And it's like you didn't really have some supporting things around that sometimes. But like now it's like the inverse. It's like, yeah, Cody's got his crown jewel stuff going on, but like I care about LA Knight and Carmelo and Andrade, and I care about the Nia Tiffany stuff. And now we got Motor City Machine Guns coming in, and then you got the Street Profits and the Bloodline and the Roman stuff. Like it's like, okay, we're to the point now that I feel like SmackDown is like, it used to be like a pretty noticeable difference between SmackDown and Raw, I thought, for a really long time. Now it's to the point that I'm like, okay, these two are about even, and I'm excited to see SmackDown every week now.
Yeah, it feels like SmackDown has a much smaller roster than Raw, but they're utilizing they're utilizing that roster to just the full extent. Mm-hmm. We would get our main event though. Solo Sikoa taking on Big Bro Jimmy Uso.
Big Jim.
Big Jim Jimmy Uso. And beforehand, there was a small promo where Solos has the Ulafala around his neck, and he's saying that he's gonna make Big Bro acknowledge him tonight as his tribal chief. But we get our match, and Solo comes to the ring, obviously, with Bloodline. So he's got Fatu and Tamatanga and Tangaloa outside the ring with him. And when Jimmy enters that ring, oh, man, does he have an eye-widening moment where he realizes, man, this Bloodline rule stuff ain't that cool.
No, it's not fun when you're on this side of things.
No, not very.
No, I don't like this.
Not very fun when I'm on the other side because he got in that ring and he looked around like, damn, you think he's Ron Simmons out there? This dude was like, I might be screwed here, but he's Jimmy Uso and he's going to give it his best effort. Yeah. But his best effort wasn't close to enough because whenever Jimmy Uso did anything in this match, Solo had it coming, man. And throughout the entire match, Solo Sikoa talking that smack to Big Bro. I mean, the entire time he's saying, well, this all you got, little bro? Or Big Bro, this all you got, Big Bro? And you're going to acknowledge me, I'm your tribal chief now, you ain't nothing. I mean, he was talking, he was doing some character work that I've been begging for Solo. I mean, he was doing phenomenal stuff all night here.
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't like this from Solo. Like, I know people don't like Solo, and I know people have their opinions, but like, he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he did it well tonight.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And there wasn't much sizzle to this match in terms of like in-ring action between the two. It was a storytelling match of whenever Jimmy gets a little bit of momentum, Solo's there to match. Solo was overpowering. He was looking like a enforcing character that can hold his own in all aspects here. And But throughout the match, they were doing the whole thing where Solo would do a move, start talking smack to the point where he would distract the ref somehow, some way, and that would leave room for Jacob Fatu to get some moves off here and there on Jimmy.
Always Jacob. I noticed that.
Yeah, it
no
was always
Tonga, no Tonga Loa getting a move on. It was always Jacob.
Jacob would always get a nice punch off or a kick or XYZ. It was everything was good here, but there was this nice little head nod to The Rock in the match where Jimmy Uso would do his version of The Rock's DDT, the big DDT The Rock used to do. And Solo, the next move, Solo would reverse and he would immediately follow it up with the spinning Solo, which is his version of the Rock Bottom, which is really nice. I like that back and forth little segment there. But the 1-2 from that spinning Solo can't finish him off. But toward the end of the match, Jimmy would get a big old, this man, he loves his super kicks, and Jimmy would get one off, and both of them would end up on the ground. Back in the day, we start counting 1, 2, 3, but we don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore.
No, we don't.
But he would stun Solo here. Jimmy would go to the top rope, but Fatu or Tongaloa would distract the ref, or I guess before this, let me back up. Jimmy would start getting some momentum, and Jacob Fatu would jump on the apron. And when Jacob Fatu jumped on the apron, Jimmy Uso would have to go over there, hit him off the apron, like it's 2K, you got to get him off the apron. And then Tongaloa would jump up on the apron. He had to go over there, hit him. And then Tama Tonga would come over there. He'd hit him. Solo would try to get momentum off this because it's a distraction. But Jimmy, nope. Big moment here. He'd get a Samoan drop on him. He'd go to the top rope. And we're thinking, Jimmy Uso is going to overcome this bloodline. But when he went to the top rope, Tongaloa jumps on the apron, distracts the ref. This leaves Jacob Fatu enough time to rip Jimmy Uso from the top rope. He hits the top rope, falls. And Solo Sikoa hits him with the good old-fashioned spike. 1, 2, 3. He beats Jimmy Uso, but it's the Bloodline 2.0.
Yeah.
It ain't over.
As soon as that bell rings.
Yeah, soon as I don't even know if the bell rang yet. They jumped on that man so fast. They were beating the hell out of him. Beating the hell out of Jimmy Uso. Just 3-on-1 or 4-on-1. Beating the holy hell out of him. But Jimmy Uso obviously has some help. The man who acknowledged him tonight, coming out to help Mr. Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, meets him on the stage. He eats a Superman punch. Bow. And I don't think Fatu falls. I think he just kind of falls into the barricade and holds himself up. But Tongaloa meets him when he gets to the ring. He Superman punches him. He goes staggering. And then he spears Tama Tonga. And then he spears Tongaloa again. And the ring's clear. But this was phenomenal, this part. Solo is watching this the entire time. And he ain't moving. He's just firm in the ring, staring down Roman Reigns. He ain't scared. He's just watching all of his members get taken out. And he's like, all right, you took him out. Now it's us. And he's staring down Roman Reigns. He's like, I ain't scared of you now, man. I ain't scared of you. They start attacking each other, boom, boom, boom. But it is Jacob Fatu. One Superman punch can't take out Jacob Fatu. He pops into the ring. He takes out Roman from behind. And when that happens, all hell breaks loose. They start beating the hell out of Roman Reigns. He throws Roman into the corner and does his running hip toss.
Roman's head snaps back. I'm like, oh my God.
Break that man's neck.
It looks rough.
That's a tribal neck, and he gonna break it. And Jimmy Uso at this point would recover enough to get in the ring to try to help, but he wasn't much help. He took a Samoan drop real quick, and Jacob Fatu did his prettiest moonsault ever.
Prettiest Fatu
salt ever. Yeah. Looked incredible. Nails Jimmy with that, and then Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, they grab Roman's arms and they hold him out while Solo Sikoa gives him a good old-fashioned spike. Bloodline 2.0 here. They laugh as they walk to the stage. They dominate Jimmy Uso and Roman Reigns. But before the camera cuts off, it goes to a picture, and Jimmy Uso looks over at Roman Reigns, and all he says is, "We need help, Us." So this was absolutely phenomenal in every single way. I mean, it just has to be a pop.
Yeah, it has to be a pop. The match itself was good. We haven't seen Jimmy since Mania in terms of interaction stuff. And it was like, well, last time we saw him, that match was not very good.
No.
So let's see if this is better. This was a lot better.
Yes.
Solo, you can feel how comfortable Solo is as a whole. Not only in his character work, but in-ring stuff. He's here with his family. I feel like tonight was maybe the best showing of that. The confidence, how comfortable he is now with this role. So that was great. The numbers game catching up to Jimmy and Roman, just fantastic stuff. I keep saying fantastic. I need to find a better word, but it really was that good.
Yeah.
Really was that good. And then, myself, when Bloodline's attacking those two, I'm like, okay, well, that means Cody Rhodes is going to come out, right? If Cody's going to be in this match, that means Cody Rhodes is coming. Cody.
Yeah.
Cody's not there. So part of me is like, okay, cool. They have Cody over in the Kevin Owens, Randy Orton stuff, and they're leaving him out of the Bloodline stuff. I really hope that is the case. I really hope we have the 4 of Bloodline 2.0. You have the Jimmy, Roman, you get Sammy, you get Jay back. We get a 4-on-4. Cody can go off and do that stuff and be separate from the Bloodline stuff. I think that's the way they are going to do it, and I hope that I'm right here.
Yeah, I mean, you allude to a lot of stuff that we could break down a little bit here, but like in terms of the end of the match with the "We Need Help," it was the first. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but it was a moment where it looked like Roman was taking a look in the mirror and realizing for the first time that like, shit, we can't do this by ourselves, man. It was the first acknowledgement from him in his character, like facial work, where Roman looks like, ah, crap, I might be outmatched here. And that's just phenomenal. It's exactly the story that we all wanted them to tell when Post-Mania happened, and we got months of just the Bloodline 2.0, and we were all talking about what happens when Roman comes back, what happens when Roman comes back, and we were all like, well, Roman needs to kind of get his butt whooped, and he needs to have that moment of realization that like he can't do this without his brothers here. And then you start the journey and start the story of how do you get this guy back, how do you get this guy back, and like you said, this. Obviously, Jimmy's back, but now like we're on the road to like, well, how do we get Sammy back? How do we get Jay back? Is Cody gonna be back? When's the Wise Man come back? Like the Tribal Chief has lost everything, and now we're finally getting that story of like him acknowledging that he needs help and moving on into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. And then what you just alluded to, many people at this point, are the discussion's always been, should Cody Rhodes get out of the Bloodline story? Should he get out? Should he get out? Well, when they needed help tonight on SmackDown, they're getting their butt whooped. Cody Rhodes was a no-show. And I think that was purposeful. I think WWE did that on purpose to say that, yeah, he's going to be separate from this Bloodline story and in that first opinion looking in on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of... You have to have Sammy, and you have to have Jay. So that gives you 4 there.
Yeah.
If you have Cody there, that's a 5th member. Well, who do you add for a 5th member over there on the other side? Rock's not showing up to Survivor Series.
Nope.
So I think it's smart to just have him kind of off to his side doing like, I mean, we've seen special referee gimmicks, like matches. We could just do like a special referee with Kevin and Randy, and then maybe you have that continue to build some way, somehow. Just away from the Bloodline stuff. You give the Bloodline like a proper War Games match, because I feel like if Cody's in it, I don't really feel like that's Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it would be out of place at this point, especially with KO full turning heel at this point. But I completely agree. We've said multiple times in many videos that when it comes to this War Games match and when it comes to the Bloodline Civil War, we want it to be Bloodline members, family versus family, and people are going to be like, well, Sami Zayn isn't. Well, yeah, he is, but he was a big part of the Bloodline 1.0 go around, and so I feel like his story needs to be told in this as well. But we're finally getting at that. And then last thing that I want to point out that you kind of alluded to as well, time to give Solo Sikoa his flowers during this Bloodline 2.0 stuff. When it first started in the first couple months after WrestleMania, when this all started, people really gave him hell and drug him through the dirt, telling him that, saying that he this is awful and Bloodline 2.0 is just not holding up. Well, that was kind of the job, right? His whole job was to be the fake tribal chief. But I feel like we're finally at the point where his in-ring character, Solo Sikoa, the WWE superstar, like his character is found and he has confidence now in the ring too. And so like you saw it here tonight on SmackDown when Roman got in the ring and Solo didn't move. Sure, we all know he's the fake tribal chief. Sure, Jacob Fatu ended up finishing off the job here tonight, even after he stared Roman down and said he wasn't scared. But like he is putting on the show to where Bloodline 2.0 feels legit at this point. And as much as great work as Jimmy and Roman do, and as much as a part as they are in this whole story, Solo Sikoa is a major factor in this and really carrying this story in terms of storytelling. He's doing his job really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to give him his flowers.
Yeah, like you said, people kind of crapped on Solo there in the beginning, and honestly, like there were times like probably deserved. Like he was trying to find his footing, and we didn't really know how this would look. And it's like, okay, he's gonna make us miss Roman. That whole time built up, and WWE kind of timed it back to where like the fans were wanting Roman so bad, but then they got Solo to be kind of like legitimate. But then they like met because it's like, okay, he's getting there. Roman comes back, boom.
Yeah.
And it's like a perfect timing of like, okay, here we go. Now it's the fake tribal chief versus the original tribal chief. And now they're going at it. And it's like, okay, I can believe this now. Like there was a time that, Solo's in the ring with people and you're like, he doesn't deserve to be in that ring with this person. You could say that he deserves to be in the ring with Roman.
Oh, 100%. That was great. I love that. How Solo does seem to be peaking at this character at the same time Roman's coming back and turning face. It does feel like, the mega powers are hitting in that aspect of things.
I don't know what Hulk Hogan's going to do with this.
Damn it. All right, Hogan reigns. I don't know. But it just feels like perfect timing, as you said. And Solo has done such a good job to where we're bought into this storyline, and I just don't want people to be like, we're bought into the storyline now that Roman and Jimmy are back. That's the reason. Well, yes.
Well, that's what most people are gonna say. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you are. That is a big part of it, but you're bought into the storyline as well because Roman and Jimmy are going up against this team that Fatu and Solo Sikoa have done such a good job of making you hate so much. And hats off to everybody involved. It's going to be great.
Yep.
But this SmackDown was absolutely fantastic, except for the Rhea Ripley stuff. Basically didn't miss for me at all. I thought it was fantastic from point A to point B. It was absolutely incredible. Huge pops from us the entire time. Looking forward to more episodes of SmackDown. Looking forward to everything. Everything's good. Raw, take notes from this SmackDown. Take notes. This is how your 2-hour show should be.
Yeah, it flew. We talked about Raw being the soap opera stuff. Even the soap opera stuff on SmackDown tonight flowed and was really good and easy to watch.
Yeah.
It wasn't over the top.
Fantastic. Anyway, follow us on all of our socials at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod. Listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, etc. And if you want to come talk to us, we do have a Discord. Come talk. It's in our link tree in our bio. It has all of our socials, so go ahead and follow all those. We would greatly appreciate it. Come say hi. But I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.